Hi, I'm Rob Cram, and today we're taking a look at Bandai Namco Games' action-packed Japanese role-playing game, Tales of Xillia 2, which we sunk several hours into and found a game that's not only overflowing with cute, but presents some flashy scenes and likeable characters, even if the main protagonist doesn't talk much, if at all. The game follows the story of younger sibling Ludger Will Kresnik as he steps up for duty but becomes embroiled into a harrowing and destructive terrorist act, which leaves him massively in debt. Cue lots of fighting, free roaming adventure, and an abundance of squeaky voices and the odd meow from an overweight cat called Rolo. All the ingredients are there for a cracking adventure, despite the game starting off quite disjointed, where one moment you're taking part in an exam, fighting cuddly beasts, and the next cooking tomato omelettes over a hot stove. Events do unfold quite quickly, and before you know it, Ludger gets caught up with the troubled girl Ellie Mel Marta, who is key to the story from the first game, which took place a year earlier. Jumping into the game, and there's lots to take in, but thankfully everything is spelled out by the way of a handy and optional tutorial for those unfamiliar with how the basics work. The first thing that players will notice is that throughout the story, Ludger is presented with a number of decisions to make which ultimately affect what happens in the story. So in one moment there's an option to flee or fight, where either is quite valid and presents a different aspect to Ludger's silent character. Aside from the action-packed story, which seems to pull you in from the get-go, the combat is probably the most important feature of the game, which allows players to team up with secondary characters and unleash several forms of attacks using the cross-dual raid linear motion battle system. More skills and attack moves can be gained through prolonged play, and what is neat is being able to, on the fly, set how the AI characters behave in battle. There's some neat co-op style moves that can be pulled off during specific moments, and what's perhaps most notable is the fact that encounters occur in real time, which means players can evade, block, jump and attack at will rather than wait around for turn-based antics to roll out. Once players move beyond the opening chapters, the world begins to open up fully, where the game presents open areas in the world map, which enables Ludger and co to move around freely, talk to NPCs, enter stores and undertake jobs. There's even a bit of optional banter to listen to, which shows animated portraits of the characters as they present their thoughts on what's happening. Once the opening is passed, Ludger gets well into debt, which means he's left with millions to pay back. This acts as a way of progression and means certain aspects are locked off until a set amount of cash is paid. Naturally, moving across each area, players can free roam and undertake jobs for cash, which involve things like collecting items and fighting a specific number of enemies. It's here where players have a choice to keep on fighting or earn enough coin to progress the story. The fighting itself is pretty intuitive and easy to pick up, with its directional inputs being used alongside the aforementioned special attacks. Whilst it's easy to simply mash the attack button with the odd block here and there, the key to success is keeping an eye on the various meters which build up, enabling super combo moves with the AI partner. As players progress and gain more skill, the combat becomes a little more tactical, as the enemies come with various strengths and weaknesses to counter. For a game which looks set to offer many hours of entertainment, we only scratched the surface and were drawn into Ludger's plight, as the presentation is of a high standard, mixing up anime footage with in-game assets to tell the story. Whilst the characters by design might look typically Japanese, the storytelling is top quality, with splatterings of weirdness and touches of humour thrown in for good measure, keeping players well on their toes. The dialogue choices are pretty good as well, and means players can't be distracted when cutscenes are playing, as there's often a time limit surrounding the choices. As a game on the aged PS3 hardware, Tales of Xillia 2 is looking like a promising game. Although released already in Japan, the English version seems well acted and accessible enough for players who aren't familiar with the first game. Luckily, there's an encyclopedia to peruse should you feel lacking in knowledge of who is who and what relations they are to each other, but again, this is optional and not a requirement to fathom what's going on. Tales of Xillia 2 releases in Europe on August the 19th in North America and the 22nd in Europe. If you like Japanese-inspired role-playing games with an assortment of cute and interesting characters, obligatory shouting, cuddly cats, pick-up-and-play combat, then this is worth keeping an eye on, whether you've played the first game or not. Okay, I'm Rob Cram. Thanks for watching.
Gotta keep moving, one step at a time.